Hello, and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks from Magic the Gathering's history. This is part 4 of looking at the Urza's Legacy pre-constructed decks. So the last one we're looking at from this set is Time Drain, which is a blue and green deck. I've been looking toward this one. Blue-green is one of my favourite colour combinations, so really looking forward to this one. So we have a deck list here. We have 19 creatures, 10 instants, 4 sorceries, 2 enchantments, 25 land, mana curve off to the side there as usual. Let's get into it and look at some creatures. So, we have some green creatures here. So 2 Acridians, which are 2 for 2, which is a pretty good rate, but it has Echo, which means you've got to pay for it next turn to keep it around. Bloated Toad and Darkwatch Elves are basically the same creature, just with different protection. But they both have cycling, which is good because it means if you're playing against a opponent who isn't using, say, blue or black, you can cycle it and get a more relevant card. And Simian Grunts, 3/4 with Echo and Flash, so like a pretty nasty surprise blocker to suddenly throw out in front of someone, just throw a bunch of angry monkeys in the way. The nice thing about them having flash means that you can use them as a combat trick, kill something, and then you don't have to worry about paying for Echo next turn. But if you did want to pay Echo next turn, that's fine because 3/4 is 3/4 for 3 mana is like a pretty okay deal. And then we have some blue creatures. So the 2 rares of the deck. So Anthroplasm. This is such a weird creature. So 2 colors and 2 blue. For Shapeshifter 0/0, but it comes in with 2 counters and you can pay X, tap it, remove all the counters from it, and then put X counters back onto it. So, as the game goes on, if you have spare mana, you just be like, oh, well, I didn't cast any spells this turn. I'll use it to pump up the Anthroplasm, make it really big. So I quite like that. And then Archivist, 2 colors and 2 blue, 1/1, just tap, draw a card. I'm not sure if that's that good. Yeah, it's a little boring as a rare, isn't it? Really, but I suppose it's fine. And then 1 Walking Sponge. This guy's great. I think this guy's really fun. So 2 mana for a 1/1. I like Summon Sponge. I think that's just great as a creature type. But tap to make a creature lose flying, first strike, or trample end of turn. I think that's really good fun. I think making creatures lose keyword ability is actually quite fun. I'm not sure that's really done that much. But yeah, I think it's just really interesting that he just steals a keyword for a turn. What would be even more fun if he gave that keyword then to something else you control. But maybe getting ahead of myself there. And then Thran War Machine, just big old dumb artifact creature, 4 mana for a 4/5 with Echo, has to attack every turn available. Okay, I guess. Not ideal. There's better creatures that this could have been, or they're in this deck. And speaking of some of those better creatures, we have a bunch of fairies. So 3 Thornwind fairies, 1 colours, 2 blue, 1/1 flyers, taps to do 1 damage to our creature or player. Always going to say it. Weird that blue had this ability for quite a long time to do indirect damage. So 3 of these, quite good. Weatherseed fairies, who are 2/1 flyers with protection for red for 3 mana. That's fairly good. Red is, I think red along with black is one of the best colours to have protection from because it just protects you from, burn spells and indirect damage. Yeah, I just think protection from red is really good. So that I think these guys have been fine. So we're getting into the theme of the deck now, which is basically free spells. So, for reasons I'll never understand, this was kind of a mechanic that a lot of blue spells had in Urza's block, which was when they enter the battlefield, you untap a certain number of lands, usually equal to their mana value. So Cloud of Fairies are 1/1 with flying, and when they enter the battlefield, you untap up to 2 lands, so they're essentially free. I don't know why anyone thought this was fine because it's obviously so ripe for abuse. Because it's essentially a free creature. Yeah, and the same with Peregrine Drake. It's 5 mana, 2/3 with flying, but when it comes in, you untap up to 5 lands. I suppose a way around it could have been like, if it comes into play and you cast it from your hand, you get the untap. But it's still such a. I'm not sure why it was chosen as an ability. Like, it's so. I'm not sure what the theme is meant to be, but anyway, 3 Cloud of Fairies, they're really good. They've got cycling, and then Peregrine Drake is just a pretty decent flyer. And then we have a bunch of free spells as well. So Frantic Search is draw 2, discard 2, and then untap up to 3 lands. Rewind is counter a spell, untap up to 4 lands. Snap is return a creature to its owner's hand and untap up to 2 lands. So these are all essentially free spells. And yeah, I just don't understand what the design philosophy was. I mean, these are all really good. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying they're bad spells. I don't understand really the untapping land thing. Like, why they say like, oh, we'll make it free, or like if it was untap like 1 land, or if it's untap lands, like 1 land fewer than the mana value thing. So Frantic Search was untap 2 lands, say. But yeah, it's like I can't believe this made it past, kind of like design and stuff, and everyone's looking at these and be like, yep, that's fine. It's essentially a free spell. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, there is that kind of story that when Urza's block was kind of done, and because Urza's block is full of, I'm going off a slight tangent here, but Urza's block is full of like really broken cards. There is that story that the whole design team was like called into essentially like the boss's office and shouted at for like really poorly balancing the set or whatever. I don't know how true that is, but it is a fun mental image of a bunch of designers being scolded for making bits of cardboard too good. But yeah, and then a bunch of other blue spells. So Intervene targets counters a spell that targets a creature. Miscalculation counters a spell unless they pay 2. It has cycling. Opportunity to draw 4. And then Exhaustion. Exhaustion is quite good, I think. So 2 mana, 2 colours and a blue. Sorcery. Creatures and lands and opponent controls do not untap during their next untap step. That I think is quite I mean, it depends, obviously, what the board state is, but that has the potential to be really good. Essentially, you could just like time walk someone. They don't maybe get to cast spells or use creatures on their next turn. So yeah, I think Exhaustion has had the potential to be very, very good, and definitely like maybe swing games. And then a Confiscate just to control an enchanted permanent. It's quite fun. Zephyr's Embrace give which is an aura which gives a creature +2/+2 flying and shroud, and then Hush, which destroys all enchantments, and it has cycling. And then to round things off, so we have the cycling non-basics, and then the 2 Manlands. So Fairy Conclave becomes a 2/1 flyer, and Treetop Village becomes a 3/3 trampler. So those are both pretty good. I think out of all the Manlands, I think Treetop Village is. Actually, I'm just gonna say, I think these two are the best Manlands, and then probably the red one, and then the white and black one. I think are the worst ones. I think they're still good. It's actually weird that none of the decks I've looked at have had the white Manland in it, which is it becomes like a 1/5 soldier, so like it becomes like a really good blocker. But I think maybe that's why I consider them the worst, because the black one becomes just a 1/1 with regenerate, so really only good for blocking. Whereas Fairy Conclave and Treetop Village become like really good attackers, which is attacking is usually a lot more valuable than being a good defensive creature. So what could have been? Let's just address the weird illusion elephant in the room, Palincron. So this could have been a potentially very good rare to include. This is the broken one. This is the one that's like I think it's like, I don't think it's banned in like Commander and stuff, but like this is definitely like a priority target because it has so much potential just to be just absolutely disgraceful. So 4/5 flyer for 7 mana, but when it comes in, you untap 7 lands, and then you can pay 4 mana to return to its hand. So if it comboed with one of the other cards I put here, Fertile Ground, you have an infinite mana combination. I fully understand why fertile ground wasn't included in the deck, because then you have the potential. So if you don't know, so if you say you have your 2 lands and you say cast Cloud of Fairies, you tap your 2 lands, Cloud of Fairies comes in, you untap those 2 lands. You have fertile ground that when the enchanted land becomes tapped, it produces 1 mana of any color you want. So you have 2 lands and one with fertile ground, and you tap them, you produce 3 mana. The Cloud of Fairies comes in, and you untap again, so you can then tap those lands again, and then you've got now 4 mana open. So yeah, so any auras like that that make a land produce extra mana when comboed with these untap land spells just makes it very, very strong, I think. Which is why it's such an inherently broken mechanic, I think. Curfew, I just thought this is a symmetrical effect. It bounces a creature on for every player, so that can be your stuff, and then you play it and you get some land untaps. Argothian Elder is just a creature that taps to untap more land, so it's just kind of on the theme. Vigilant Drake is a 3/3 flyer, and I've put that in just because it has an ability to untap itself, and I just thought that's like an okay mana sink to kind of, because that's the thing with these untapped spells. Like, sure, the spell is free, but like if you can't kind of capitalize that on keep casting spells or put that mana somewhere else, like it's kind of a bit pointless. So Vigilant Drake at least is somewhere you could put that mana to untap it for whatever reason. And then I just thought Mighty of Oaks, just because it's a big old pump spell. Just I didn't really have anywhere else to put it, and again, it's an okay place to put that free mana you're getting essentially. But overall, I think this deck is kind of fun. It's the key theme. The key theme of it is such a obviously and hilariously broken mechanic of free spells. Whether or not it was actually effective in game is something else entirely. I didn't own the deck, and I would have really liked to. So if you did own the deck, I would really like to hear about it and how it played. Did you win a lot with it, or did you make changes to it? Were you lucky enough to get a Palincron and put Palincron in the deck and just make everyone kind of hate you a little bit? I'd really like to know, so put a comment below. But so that was Urza's Legacy, and I'm going to be back next time to look at the last set of Urza's block, which is Urza's Destiny. We'll look at those. But yeah, until next time, thank you for watching and listening, and have a good day.